Usually,
And
But it's delayed, what, 30 seconds or so?
something
A minute?
like that,
a
yeah.
few seconds. Yeah.
All right, I'm not looking at the screens.
Yeah, don't look. It may pop up on there. All right, yeah. Don't look at that screen. But sometimes people will chime in though.
There's no screen. As far as I'm concerned, there is no screen.
No screen. If
It's right here. It's right here.
If it's distracting, I'll turn it off. You let me know. Your audio is rolling as well, so I'll adjust.
What's
volume
up?
from here.
Hey.
Get as close as you can, but
All right.
if you need to like chill, I'll just raise the volume. So.
No, I can sit at attention for sure.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Doesn't happen often.
Hello, Facebook Live. How are you? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. This is
Welcome curtain.
Welcome to Totally Local. Oh wait, I gotta get the
Theme song.
Hold on. Shoot, hang on. I gotta launch that too.
It's all good.
Sorry about that.
Boom, chicka, boom,
It's
chicka,
catchy.
boom. Is it?
I think.
It
I
is,
mean,
yeah.
Is it like an islandy
Sorry,
tune? I'm feeling
launching-
islandy.
you'll.
Yeah, it's a good theme song. I'm gonna launch up the soundboard here.
And a 1, and a 2, and a.
That is plugged in. All right, it's launched. This is an old computer. Use a lot of Apples, right?
Not really.
Oh, really? Use
I'm a PC.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a black sheep as far as design software and platforms go. I just kind of do my own thing.
It all works, and that's all that. Like we
it
just
does.
mentioned, it all works and all that.
Yeah, as long as it's working. I DJ with a Mac, but I design all my other schnizzle is in PC because you can get away with a lot more shenanigans in PCs. I think.
That was the only reason that I bought a MacBook at all, was to DJ with, because it seemed like the DJ software was a lot more stable overall and more compatible with all the controllers and everything.
But I think now it's like whatever.
It seems to be. Yeah, there's a very thin line.
Even with gaming, like if you use laptops, like gaming laptops for DJing, because its processing power has to be so fast.
Yeah.
For the gamers, for those kids out there.
And I really think that generally the speed and the efficiency of even just average laptops is so much better than it used to be, so you can run it without any glitches,
Yeah. I can't think of the last time I had a real meltdown, either computer-wise or mental. Well, the last mental that was about a year ago when I was DJing. But
I thought it was last week. When you remember that time. No, well, don't jinx it. Don't say anything about, well, my computer's fine now. Everything's good to go, because yeah, exactly. Blue screen of.
I can't. I gotta dust off my computer. Shout outs to David Sky, who he invited me to do a gig. I don't know when it's coming. It's coming up in May, I think. But I gotta clean out my computer and see if it still works.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there, all sad.
Or maybe it's time for you to learn CDJs.
That's really, I don't have the bicep strength to carry them around.
Well, that's why you need roadies, man.
Totally, yeah.
Leave that job for the porters.
They're all my roadies.
They're carrying you.
I can't at this point. I'm too old. I can't switch over to, It was cool though. Epic shouts to Neil, DJ Foggy Notion.
Too old. How old are you?
I'm
Right, seriously.
I'm 37, man. I ain't got time for that. Yeah.
Wow.
But shout outs to Neil, because when I did the Asbury Park, I rocking the 1s and 2s. I just bought a crate of vinyl and it was sick. It was all set up.
How much fun was it?
It was fun. It was catastic.
Give me another minute here.
It's all good.
Jesus is slow.
I could
Holy crap.
bullshit for however long you let me.
Yeah, well.
I thought. I was so surprised at how many people showed up for the Cats.
3,000 or something like that?
It was like they oversold it, thinking that people would come in like spits and starts, but they actually just all showed up early.
People love cats,
Yeah.
man.
I couldn't imagine. I was talking to somebody I think cat people are a certain breed, but dog people I think would even be more I think of cat people as more of not giving a crap and just kind of being more laid back and whatever and sassy like a feline. But when it comes to dog people, I think they're more like their counterparts, all happy and.
I wonder what Dogsbury Park would be like.
Oh, it'd be chaos. It'd be chaos.
Dog Days of Asbury? What do we call it? Let's do it. Let's start it. Let's bite.
I don't have a
bite
dog.
Off a good. I bet Medicine Marquette's on it already.
They're on
They're
it.
like,
oh.
they smell.
All right. Okay. Wait. That's just a test. All right.
They smell blood in the water.
Oh, they have it already in the works, dude.
Yeah, of course. There's going to be a goldfish Bury Park, and
that would be interesting.
Yeah, and a ferret Bury Park.
I forget who did the cats. I mean, it was the people that run the Catsbury Park, which is coffee house or whatever it is.
It's a unique concept that actually serves a lot of purposes. It's cool for cat people, and it's therapeutic too. People go and they're calmed by being able to play with the little felines.
And then cats get adopted. I mean, it's a win.
Yeah,
it's a win-win.
It is.
I rescued. I have a rescue before they were called rescues. So, shout out to Pappy, my cat.
Thank you for the dead birds.
All right, you ready?
I
All right, I'm
wish.
going to turn down this. All right, and
Oh yeah. Hello everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Totally Local. Totally Local Podcast is a series based on interviewing the lovely, wild, local entrepreneur, businessmen, colorful characters, and everyone else that's out there in this wonderful area known as the Jersey Shore. So, I'd like to say thank you, obviously, always to A Shared Universe Podcast and Ming for setting all this up and being here and being so wonderful.
What a great place.
Yeah.
What a great place.
And without further ado, I have the one and only, the enigmatic, the mysterious yet lovely, the everything to everyone that I know as Adam Kenter. He's here with us from Yes Graphic. And you, my friend, you have been part of this whole area, this whole scene, before it was what it is today.
This is true.
Yeah,
it's true. Today has never been before today.
Yeah, exactly.
Nor will it be again.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's true. But more specifically, what I'm referring to is your business. You're a proprietor. You've been in Asbury Park. You started in Asbury Park how long ago? When did Yes Graphic?
We first opened our doors in July of 2009.
Uh-huh.
At 1408 Main Street, which is right across the street from our current location.
And I mean, it wasn't what it is right now.
Asbury Park it had just started to really get going back then.
Uh-huh.
Even the years between 2007 and 2009 saw a lot of change. Just even on the boardwalk. I mean, back in 2007, I think Madison Marquette was just moving in, if I remember correctly, and they were just starting to breathe some life into the pavilions and the boardwalk and convention hall. The beach bar, I think, reopened in the summer of 2007. But it's night and day now. For sure.
What made you say, I want to be in Asbury Park? I want my business to be in Asbury, not Red Bank,
Red Bank was a little too uptight for me at that time, and it was a little too trafficky. Just Red Bank gets all
Parking is rough.
Parking's rough. It just gets super snarly any time of the day. I feel that it's just always slow moving through Red Bank, and I just was drawn to Asbury Park. I was living here at the time, and my professional situation had been sort of morphing, and the physical shop became available, and it was an interesting coincidence that I had an appointment to meet with the owner of the shop, and earlier that day I went surfing, and I met this guy named Peter Siegel, and so we were surfing together over at Lock Harbor. It was just the two of us, and then I got out of the water because I had to go to my meeting, and then I get to my meeting, and the landlord is Peter Siegel. so we had just
dried off, walked away,
pretty much, and then met up at the same spot.
That's the weirdness, I think, the wonderful weirdness of this area. How you could, you meet people, and as long as you're involved and passionate, I think. In regards to the Jersey Shore and whatever you're doing, like you kind of circulate and meet kind of this network of people that are actually involved.
That's really how it happened.
Yeah.
Just being out and about. After I left the company I was with for a long time, and I was relatively new to Asbury Park, and I would just be at the coffee shop on my laptop getting work done. And hey, Adam, how you doing? You still doing this? Oh, we need this done. And the next thing you know, I had enough demand that where I could no longer do it off my kitchen table, and that's what kind of prompted me to open up the shop.
That's the way to do it too. I mean, people go, balls to the wall, as it were, and like, they want to have a business. They want all this, like, the facade, of literally a facade, and then like just as I'm a business.
Right.
But, when you're growing a business, it kind of makes more logical sense to do it kind of how you're talking about, like from the ground up, working out of your house and then expanding it as you go.
Yeah, it was really an organic process.
Yeah.
I never really pictured myself to be a business owner, but I like to do things my own way, sort of. So
yes, you do.
In retrospect, it kind of makes sense. But it's been a great ride.
And I mean, it's speaking like organically, of that process. That's how we met. You were DJing at Watermark. Shout out Watermark and Russell. You were spinning the hits over there, and
I don't know about the hits.
I was digging it.
Yeah.
And I met you through that, and then we've just kind of known each other for a while, and it's kind of grown. Our relationship has grown and blossomed from there.
It has. And then one day you walked into the shop and there was a vacant seat, and you're like, "Can I sit there?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah. So I got to have for where I was working from before, that opportunity was great, and I had to move on from there, and I didn't have anywhere to work out of, and it really.
At the time, I said, "Here, I'll meet you this place. I'll be right back," and then
yeah.
never came back.
Yeah, well, we're gonna work out of here. This will be great. All right, I'll see you in a couple days, and then I was
turned into over a year.
Yeah,
right?
I was. Shout outs to Paul Vale over at Vale Realty. I had this opportunity that Adam pretty much set up, where I was working. It was like a 1,500 square foot space.
It was great space. I was in Long Branch at the time, and I was really missing being in Asbury Park. So that was supposed to be the Asbury Park satellite office, and I just couldn't do it. Just one person running two physical spaces wasn't happening.
And it ended up just me with a table and a chair. And
it worked out great, though.
Oh,
I mean, all of a sudden,
awesome.
People were talking to you like you belong there. And
exactly.
It was great.
And then I was just kind of there. I was like, "Hey, you need help? I'm here."
Got money? Got money?
Yeah, exactly.
I need money.
So going back to going back to the DJ thing, I mean, you're an interesting character, and I've been waiting a while to have you on here to know when it would be the right time, and today was the right day.
It all came together.
You DJ, so that's one way we're reconnected.
Yep.
Other things that when I think of this area and the Jersey Shore, I think of certain elements that make it up are fishing, surfing. Those two things are a huge part of this area, which I wasn't fully aware of because I'm a nerd and I don't. I know
you
how
don't
to
go outside.
I don't go outside because it's scary out there. There's animals.
Yeah.
But you're an avid fisherman. Is that one of the reasons that drew you to this area? Was fishing, surfing?
Part of it, yeah, just salt water. I grew up inland, up in Edison, which is about 45 minutes down to Long Branch area.
Yeah.
And my dad always had a boat, and we were always on the boat on the weekends. And ever since I was old enough to say the word boat, that's always really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I went to high school in Edison, and then after I graduated high school, I decided that I never wanted to go back there. And I just wanted to do whatever I needed to do to live at the beach.
Yeah.
And I somehow convinced my parents to move out of Edison and move to Monmouth Beach back in 1993. I found the house in one of those real estate magazines. I said, "Here, you should
move here.
You should go here." My mom's like, "Oh wow, look." My dad's like, "No." Blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing you know, they had an appointment with the realtor, and it was all done. So I never had to go back to Edison because I lived with my parents for a couple of years, between college. Then I got my first apartment ever in Long Branch, and I've been in the area ever since. Long Branch for a long time, and then Asbury Park.
Is that when you shout outs to the Mix? You were DJing there for a while.
Shout outs to Michael and Sam at Mix in West End. They were they're great friends, and they really gave me a lot of wonderful opportunities to become the resident DJ, and I booked the DJs there for a long time. And then the crowd started changing, and I was getting older, and the style of music didn't really appeal to the clientele mix anymore. And then I sort of transitioned out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's that.
That's the story.
That's the story of Mix. Yeah,
but
that was great. I was over 10 years. I was there,
and that's a kind of an interesting thing. Like kind of what I was saying before. As far as you being in part of the community, you're just not some like fly by night, some kind of
Oh, I'm definitely fly by night,
but you're locally flying by night.
I'm too lazy to actually fly away.
But what I'm saying is that you came into this area, you meet people because you're passionate about what you do, whether it's fishing, surfing, DJing, printing, designing, everything you're doing, and it all kind of blended together where the people, you still work with those people, with Yes Graphic, you still work with people from the mix.
Yeah.
And that's kind of led to, it seems to me, it's kind of led to these relationships and growing. The whole fishing thing, you're part of the fishing community, and you meet people through that because they love the area. They love it, or they're in it, this area. Hopefully they love it.
Right.
And it kind of grows from there. Sort of like what you're saying about your first landlord, how you met him surfing, and then you somehow cosmically, you guys, ended up at the same appointment moments later.
Yeah. Still a sand in our ears. But it's a privilege to be able to combine things that I like to do with my work. And so anytime I get a client that's a surf shop, I pay extra special attention to make it awesome.
Yeah.
Not that I don't to everybody that comes to, but it's just especially fun working on boat lettering or just anything to do with the things that I do for fun.
Yeah.
It's cool. I
think
enjoy it.
It's good too to let I think it's cool for your clients. I would imagine, their business, whether it's Local 130, Epic Shouts, or whoever. Like you're involved, and I think that they appreciate the fact that you're involved or know about their business beyond just making them a sign. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have some insight into things and can offer advice and nuances to design and things like that suit nautical themes and fishing and that sort of thing. So yeah, and it's worked out well. I mean, I've gotten a lot of clients just through word of mouth, and that really says that I must be doing something right when I really don't advertise at all. Maybe a couple little Facebook posts here and there, but everybody who comes through the door either finds the website, which epic shout outs to OK7 Web Design who did my website, it's Andrew, in case people don't know. They're always saying, "Wow, we love your website. It looks great," and so we decided to call, and so. I really can't complain.
It's nice too, like, because I have a background, as you know, in design, and a lot of people, it's I understand why it's difficult to shop local, but it's nice when people can shop local, and I think that it's cool when people come in, they say, "Hey, I found you either online or through word of mouth." And they have somewhere where they could actually walk into a door and talk to somebody like you, and you could stop them from making horrible design decisions.
I can only recommend.
Yeah, strongly.
People do like that. People like having someone that they can call and not have to hear, please pay attention to the prompts as our menu has changed, and then wait on hold for 5 minutes and then get hung up on, like what happened to me today with one of my vendors, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, people like to actually be able to go in and look at samples and talk to somebody and bring in sketches that they made and not have everything so automated. Some people don't. Some people just want to do it from the comfort of their home, and they want to get the lowest possible price at whatever global cost, really, and just get it done. But I guess enough people value a personal relationship and the attention that I'm able to give to people. And so they don't necessarily shop price. And granted, my prices have to be competitive, but they're definitely not the lowest you can find anywhere.
Yeah. And as far as this area, it seems to be that there is I don't want to say a love-hate, but there's a love of the area, but then there are obviously things that are irksome at times.
Like what?
I mean, it's great that there's a lot of, and I've talked about this so many times, like there's a lot of money coming in and then locals get all like, I don't even want to say locals because it's mostly online people, so who knows where they're from. They could be in Zimbabwe for all I know. But, there's a lot of money coming into the area and things are being built up and that gets frustrating. There's a lot of
well, I don't think it's the building up that's the most frustrating. I think it's in the process of building, it becomes inaccessible, and it changes. For what's it called, a flashpoint, a hot number ticket in town today is the whole thing about the Asbury Lanes.
Yeah,
and it makes sense. That place used to be beautiful in its simplicity and in its grunginess and grittiness and its cheapness and in its tater totness and PBRness. I mean, people could go and just and with $10 in their pockets and have a night and see a great band and really be in a scene that wasn't driven by profit, just overall profit. And that's what's happening is when you go to pretty much anywhere on the boardwalk now, you can't even park your car before they've got their hands in your pocket.
Yeah.
Now the thing with the Asbury Lanes, now tickets are selling for $30 and $40. Granted, they've got some good names and everything, but it's all corporate now.
Yeah.
Now they've got this major, whatever it is, the Bowery Live or something like that. I forget exactly what it's called. That's a massive corporation or backed by a massive corporation, and it's not. They're calling it the same thing, but you can even tell by the marketing that they're doing now. They're whoever is in charge of that, if they're really trying to garner that brand loyalty that existed, they're doing exactly the opposite because their imagery is way off mark. As you could see, the decor was. I thought it was a joke. I thought they were really kidding that's how they were going to try to build upon the loyalty and the infamy that venue had generated, and it was exactly the opposite. So it's changing in that respect, and that part of it really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. I used to be, I guess, a little more idealistic, and it would be nice to think that things could either be preserved or things like that, a venue like that, maybe could be moved across Main Street or put somewhere else,
or just reserve a venue that remains accessible, that can remain so that people don't have to really think if they can afford to go out. If they really have to think, okay, well, the ticket's going to cost me $40. It's going to cost me at least $10 a park. Now I really have to think, what if I get a parking ticket anyway? Because the way Asbury Park is set up, and pretty much the rest of the country, is they make it so you're just going to pay it, because who can take time off of work to go to court and that whole thing? So that's another $35. Then it's going to be, what, $8 for a beer now? Times however many I want to have. Plus ancillary stuff. You can't even think about going out even like on a Wednesday night for less than $100. And that alone is what keeps the artists and the people who really were the core of the soul of Asbury Park, who hunkered down in the crappy times. That's what's making them not be able to be here now, is because they don't have the money to support that sort of thing, and that's not their intention. Their intention was art for art's sake. Now all of the developer, their intentions are art for profit's sake. Let's see how we can monetize everything. And that to me is the core of why it's changing and why it's ultimately going to be completely different by the time they're done. It's going to be completely different than it ever was.
I mean, on the flip though, there are DJs, there are proprietors that have their businesses still there, that they do have access to these venues and do have access. Have a I went to Epic Shouts. Mike Merrill had a and David Sky, Epic Shouts. David was over at Little Buddy Hideaway, and Mike,
is a cool little spot,
for
sure.
Yeah, it's dope. And then over at the Complex basement, Mike Merrill was playing, and they both had a crowd. The place was both packed. I think it's cool that it's not just some Joe Blow guy coming in like Johnny Hollywood.
Yeah, and those places are cool. The architecture there at the basement is just the way that they transformed that building, and the whole labyrinthian type thing between all the venues is really neat. That's to me, that's a little bit of an exception because they did it well. And it's not trying to be super high end or anything like that.
And
you
the
know.
owner's totally local, so like, you know, he should be on my
Yeah,
podcast.
absolutely. Pat Fasano, if you're listening.
Yeah, shout outs. So yeah, there are those exceptions, and I guess that's just kind of the ebb and flow. I mean, nothing can really stay in this, you know, it can't stay in a stationary kind of, you know, preserved vacuum.
No, of course
it's
not.
always going to ebb and flow.
Of course not. And the purpose of having a business is to make money and to be able to support yourself and your family and your staff and all that kind of thing. But I think it's just been taken to a whole other level of greed and of just not being soulful and just completely being about the bottom line, and humanity is no longer an issue. People are no longer really an issue. People, for as far as they're concerned, they could just become numbers themselves, so that they want to know.
This podcast got real dark.
Well, no, it's not. It's just it's the way it is.
Damn, we're in the Matrix. I mean,
well, this is true too.
You know, do you think, and I've asked this to other guests on the podcast, but do you think that there's, you know, do you think that there's hope that there's still an artistic community, there's
sure.
still a culture there,
Absolutely,
but it is kind of
Parlor Gallery, Pat Scavino, really holding it down, having great true art, and a constant rotation on Cookman there. Yeah.
So I mean, it's still viable, it's still there. Do you think that there's still a possibility, basically, harkening back to what we were talking about as far as DJing and dance music, which is what I really love to go out and be a part of and see.
Agreed.
I mean, do you think that there's still a chance and a hope that there will be a venue where we could play, you know, naughty house music all night long, or what?
One can only hope. Yes, I do. I don't think it's completely lost. I'm just. Most of that rant I had in my mind, the Asbury Hotel and the beachfront area, just because it's being super corporatized, and also knowing some friends of mine who had businesses down there when it was really just starting to come back, and to see how much more limiting and how much more controlling the developers are down there when it comes to even how you run your business, and so. I guess that's inevitable. We can only hope that there will be pockets of realness that remain in Asbury Park, and places that support true art and stay accessible for the common folk and not just the rich outsiders.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and kind of circling back to, you were in Asbury Park. And then at a certain point, you were next to Frank's. Epic shouts to Frank's Deli. Oh man,
Talk
I love
about
that
genuine.
Place. That place, when that place, if like iStar tries to come in and like take that place over, I'm just gonna be so sad.
It'll never happen
because you can't replicate those sweet women at the register.
You can't.
The sassy waitresses.
They don't make booths that small anymore.
No, and just the look of it, it's like, man, please, you know. So like you were right next to there, basically.
Yes, at 1408 Main Street.
And you said enough of this. I want to go to the train tracks in Long Branch and be hidden,
no, it's more
away.
Like my landlord said, enough of you. I want this. I want this space for my own office, because he was expanding in his property management and that sort of pursuit. And I had outgrown the space. I mean, I could barely walk in there. So I was. I couldn't really find anything that fit the bill in Asbury Park, and I also wanted to experiment in a non-storefront type environment. So it was more like a warehouse space that I was in Long Branch. And yeah, it was different, and I liked it for certain aspects. It allowed me to take a road trip and drive cross-country and go out to California for a couple weeks. And
because you don't have those people like just walking in.
Yeah, right. There weren't people just pulling on the door. Yeah. So I was still able to do some business over my laptop and cell phone and stuff like that. And so that was cool, and not being tied to regular retail hours, because people think just because you have a door that's on Main Street that you're going to be open 9 to 5, 6 or 7 days a week.
Oh, and they walk in. All kinds.
They do all day.
All day, all kinds.
So that experiment in Long Branch, while it served its purpose, it definitely proved where I didn't want to be. It was a little too dead back there.
And what was the catalyst for you to come back home to Asbury?
Well, I got a call from my current landlord, who knew that I liked the space, which happened to be right across the street from my old shop at 1408 Main. And he had a long-term tenant in there, and then when the long-term tenant told him that he had plans to leave, he called me first and gave me first rights on it. I came over and take a look, and there
you go.
And here we be.
Yeah, and that's great because parking is getting to be a biatch over in the town, and North Side is where it's at. So, you have a parking lot, which is great.
Fit how many tractor trailers in that lot?
Too many.
Yeah, too many.
So you're over there now, and if people don't know, you could easily find it because there's a big sign that says yes.
Graphic.
Yeah. But the big sign says...
Sometimes it's blue.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's orange.
You manufacture that. That's the thing that I didn't... I was like, wow, you did that. You did the, what's it called? The Sunset... what's it called?
Sunset Point. The shop's at Sunset Point, yeah.
You designed it, but you helped fabricate it. Actually, like, you were like the project manager, the project... As far as putting that all together, you know how to do that.
I was the designer, and I worked with the fabricator. We used a company called Bergen Signs up in North. They're based in North Jersey. They specialize in large scale, massive scale signage like that. I looked on their website, and it showed them with a crane. They were raising letters to go on the side of a skyscraper in Newark or in Manhattan or something like that. So as soon as I saw them, like, yeah, those are the people that I want because this job is going to be easy for them.
Yeah.
So I had nothing to do with the actual bending of the metal and putting the sign together.
No.
But I looked over all the drawings and mechanicals that they sent back, and I sent them the original sketches, and it turned in from my sketch into them actually making it reality.
And I think
there it is, Sunset Point. Yeah.
And that's a good point. No
Look
pun
at that.
intended.
Look at that.
To make is that when an owner of a business wants to do something as grandiose as make a giant ass sign like that, down to say just something as simple as a business card. When I say simple, I mean it appears that way, but it's good to have somebody like yourself, an expert in their field, to kind of facilitate where you're just somebody's not gonna throw, they're not gonna throw duty on your desk and you're gonna say, oh great, I'm gonna print some duty. You're like, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna fix this and make it.
That's happened more or less. Not literally. It wasn't actual, dung, but it was the artistic equivalent thereof.
And what do you say when somebody's like, "Yo, I got"?
I say, I say, I say, I say, I've actually done that before. I actually pushed papers away. Had to physically push papers away, saying, "I'm sorry, man." But that was a different story. But this particular time, what do? I try to approach it from a way that is non-critical and let them know that my intention is really to make people or make their brand image look as good as it possibly can with as little amount of effort as possible. Really, I try to follow the path of least resistance when it comes to trying not to just overthink things and make things too complicated. I really have more of a minimalist approach to design and problem solving in that respect. This Sunset Point sign, actually, they came to me and what was there was a complete fiasco, and they were really just thinking they were going to have a rectangular sign with some letters on it. And I said, well, how about this amorphous organic thing that looks like it might have come from a spaceship in 1964? And they said, all right, go on. Cool. And it went through some changes and some different colorways, but ultimately I was really happy that they were open to something different. And that sign is really different, and it's my biggest size-wise project yet, but it's definitely one of my favorites too.
Yeah, I like, driving down there, I see it, I'm like, there's Yes Graphic right there, did that.
Yeah. Not many people know this.
Well, exclusive. You've heard it here first, totally local. And I think I've heard you talk to clients, speak with clients, either in person. It's really interesting because, they'll come in and a lot of them will just kind of, I've heard the words, I trust you. Like you'll tell them, yeah, but this. And they'll say, yeah, whatever, man, I trust you. And
isn't that normally followed up with a wink? And hey, Andrew, there's another one. There's another sucker.
So, I mean, but how do you get to that point with if people want to work with clients on this level, how do you get there?
I get there by being honest with them.
Mm-hmm.
I get there by admitting when I don't have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
I get there by admitting when I screw something up,
Mm-hmm.
or if I make a promise that I don't deliver on.
Mm-hmm.
I say, look, listen, I'm sorry. I know I said I would do this, and I didn't, and I apologize. How can we move forward? And
Mm-hmm.
normally the answer is just do it. It's
Just
fine.
fix it?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I try to be a real person
Mm-hmm.
and not some automaton or some try to upsell everything. I just try to be genuine, and I guess people seem to respond pretty well to it.
They definitely do. And you had the opportunity when you were in Long Branch to say, essentially, I could go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing came up where you could come back to Asbury Park, which is great, but there has to be more to it than numbers. Like, what made you say, I want to be back in Dark City to, like, do what I do?
There's really no other option.
Uh-huh.
Long Branch just doesn't have it. Long
Mm-hmm.
Branch, as far as I'm concerned, the soul got ripped out of that city back when they started doing the demolition for Pier Village and bringing in the whole eminent domain thing, which is a whole.
So dark.
It was terrible. But Asbury Park still had and has some artistic viability, and it's high visibility, and not to mention just the facility on Main Street was great. The location is great. So it made sense. It made sense in a lot of ways.
I realized this a few years ago working for another company. I didn't realize, like, because you think of New Jersey as somebody that, like, a layman that doesn't understand, surfing culture, like. This is a place where people come. This area is good
Increasingly,
for surfing.
it used to be not too long ago where surfing was more or less illegal. I think it was actually prohibited on city beaches.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know the exact details of it, but I think back in the 90s, it was you weren't allowed to surf in Asbury Park. And from what I understand, the Surfrider Foundation got involved, and then they lightened that up, and you were allowed to surf maybe certain days. But now they have a designated surfing beach in Asbury Park, which is a relatively new development. And the city has taken a more kinder view to surfers, because now there's no denying that they bring revenue to the city.
Yeah.
And they had that I think it was called the Cold War surf competition back in some frigid month, and it's now in its maybe second or third year. And so Asbury Park, and also there's Lightly Salted Surf Shop, which is right there on the boardwalk, and there's some pretty good breaks in Asbury Park. I mean, obviously everything is really dependent on the time of year and where they last did the beach replenishment, which is another flashpoint of contention around here. But Asbury Park has established itself as a surfing destination, and because it has the entertainment infrastructure already built in, it's just kind of like it makes sense.
It's interesting too, as a culture, like seeing it kind of from an outside perspective. I could be in line at Stay Gold, I could be at a bar, and people, even if you're kind of strangers but you still surf, you'll talk about the chest high, yada yada yada.
Yeah, there's a
barrel
language.
stuff.
There's a language
Yeah.
that if you don't surf, it sounds like complete just gibberish.
Yeah,
Or
but it's like
code.
Yeah, like people will talk to each other. They don't necessarily have to know each other, but if they know that you
No,
surf,
we don't talk to each other. No, it's more like the hairy eyeball. Like,
Uh-huh.
no, I'm glad you're leaving.
No, I've
More waves for me.
I've seen it, and it's talking about how the entertainment value, as far as there's surfing, and then stuff going on in the town, and how those two relate. That new festival that's coming up here.
See Here Now, yeah.
So they're actually having surfers.
Tim Donnelly.
Tim
Donnelly, and
they're running it.
well, I think it was him and Danny Clinch, who are the principals behind
Danny
it.
Clinch.
I think Tim was telling me that it was been a dream of his for a while to get something to that scale, actually off the ground, and it looks like they're doing it. Yeah, it's going to be great. So I think it's music, surf, and art.
Yeah,
festival.
Good combo.
Yeah, it's a great combo.
What's the deal with? It seems like Manasquan Inlet is a popular surfing area. Am I just totally wrong?
No, it is. It is. They have a couple of contests throughout the year there. I think a longboard contest, maybe one or two other. I'm not really into the whole contest scene, but it's just a great break. It catches waves really well, and it's just known as a as a popular spot. And because of that, it gets really crowded there. But
And you'll go, I don't, because, outside scares me sometimes, but you'll just go. It was pretty, I've seen you go out there a couple times where like, I gotta go, man, I'll talk to you later. You get your wetsuit on and you go out, and I'm like, it's really cold.
Yeah, wetsuits are amazing these days.
Maybe I should just I'm always cold. Maybe I should just get a wetsuit and just wear it all the time.
You should.
All right, cool. All right, good to know.
I'd put some pants on over it, though.
I might scare some of the clients.
Yeah. But,
so
the wetsuits are really super stretchy, and you can barely tell you're wearing them compared to the way they used to be. I mean, they used to be like wearing a duffel bag.
When say a client comes into your shop and they have a drawing that their nephew gave them of a logo, and you want to help them, what's your approach to get somebody?
Send them over to you.
What's your approach when you want to make something obviously that you're proud of that looks sleek for the client? What's your approach to kind of finding a common ground to let them know that you could take care of it?
Well, really, by my first approach is by assessing their needs and saying, what is your goal? A lot of times I'll say, when this job is done and you are a happy customer and you're walking out that door after a high five and everybody in the room, what are you carrying in your arms? What's in that bag? What does it look like? Do you want a clean, classy logo from this sketch, or do you want it to look like your nephew drew it? Is your goal to keep it looking like this and retain that hand-drawn value? So that's really my first step in everything is, well, what do you need it for? What's your goal? What do you want to do? And that determines the next line of questioning. So really, it's just assessing that. It's assessing what they think they want to do with it, and then me advising them and saying, okay, well, this is how I recommend you go about getting there, and this is maybe consider shifting your goals to include these aspects as well. And yeah, it works sometimes.
And you did a wonderful, fantastic night over at Watermark, playing some really great, quote unquote underground house music. A few month ago, a few weeks ago?
Yeah, it was about a month and a half now. Time is just
flying by
right through the window.
I that venue, again, shout out.
It's the prettiest room in Asbury Park, without a doubt.
Because I was talking to somebody the other day, and they I'm not cool. I'm a nerd, and I like to, when I look at a venue and I see what I want out of a venue is somewhere where I could I want the option to sit down and relax.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things. My friends were sitting at Little Buddy Hideaway, which I didn't think I was cool enough to get in, and they let me in, which I was excited about.
Was it late or something?
It must have been. Yeah, they were just like, they couldn't tell I was with somebody else that was cool, and I snuck in. But I sat down, and I was like, this is great. And they're like, yeah, this is a great venue. I'm like, no, we could sit down. This is awesome. I love to dance, but I have to be in the right mood to dance, so I like that option of having to sit down. Anyway, love that venue, and you had a great night playing wonderful house music.
It was a lot of fun.
It was so cool.
Sound system's really great in that room. The atmosphere.
Who did the sound?
Jason Dermer. Shout out to my man
Shout
Jason,
out.
Asbury Avenue, who keeps the whole waterfront and beyond running. Does the Stone Pony Summer Stage and all the sound and lighting.
Asbury Audio.
Asbury Audio.
Yeah, cool.
Jason Dermer, he's the man.
Do you see the possibility? Maybe not so much. Because businesses are different, and what I'd like to see is just a dark, dank, dirty club somewhere. So that venue being too beautiful. Do you see that possibility of a? Where do you see that possibility going into the future? Is it in Asbury Park somewhere?
The possibility of what?
Of having a dance night or having some culture.
a quality house music night.
Yeah.
I think if it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be in Asbury Park. It makes sense. I think venue owners are still they're leery because it's not on pop radio. It's not part of popular American culture that they're aware of.
Yeah,
it is part of popular American culture now. With
it's global.
It's global.
Yeah.
It's and Asbury Park is trying to bring itself to the level of international levels of culture.
Yeah,
and you go to Barcelona, you go to Tel Aviv, you go to London, Berlin. all these places have an incredible amount of house music and techno, and it's not just it's people, it's artists, and people are revered as leaders in the arts community who are huge proponents and diehard lifers in the house and techno communities, and it's super underrepresented here. And I think because of a certain myopic viewpoint, it's the Jersey Shore. Mm-hmm. They want people to be able to sing along with the songs, and they want people to be familiar with it, and the people want that also. But I think because of the fact that it's not offered, people aren't necessarily going for it. But I think if it were something that...
You have to cultivate it.
You have to cultivate it, yeah. Because you go out any night of the week in Brooklyn, which clearly, some of the developers are using as a model, you can hear quality house music. There's a huge house music community in Brooklyn, in Manhattan, in Philadelphia. Yeah. Shout outs to the Philadelphia Experiment, my guys in PEX down there, who they opened up a venue, and they've been running shows and parties that they have thousands and thousands and thousands of people who come to their events to hear this music. And it's not to hear stuff that they know. People go to have their minds blown with music that they've never heard before, and to really experience something new and unique. And it's just not happening here yet. And it can, but somebody needs to have the balls to take it on and to see the value and to say, okay, you know what? It works everywhere else in the world. It's not working here yet. Let's make it work here.
Yeah, and I mean, I could say that we've talked about this, a lot, and I could talk about it all day. But to let the people know out there that I think it's going to start with maybe a couple underground shows that we can't really advertise and let people know about. But we might have some parties. We might have some house music parties.
There will be parties.
Yeah, and if you know me, and you like to dance and be in a friendly environment, get at me. But that's really all I could say about it.
And we could start kind of wetting people's whistles by letting them know when we're going to be doing the live streaming from the shop. We have a full DJ setup. With actual genuine vinyl turntables and everything, Techniques 1200s and some rotary mixer action, a full analog sound path, and we're going to be putting the music out there. So if you don't know what underground house music is, you're about to.
Yeah. So I mean, with that, I'd like to say thank you very much, Adam, for coming in.
It was a pleasure.
And
thank you, Ming. This place is awesome. I don't want to leave.
Yeah,
I'll just sit in the corner and look at the samurai swords on the wall.
As always, Ming and A Shared Universe Podcast Studio, thank you for allowing me to do this. And it's difficult. This isn't easy, and Ming helps you.
Ming makes it look easy.
Yeah,
he just sat down and started going. Yeah. And the atmosphere is great, and obviously the host is superb.
And
you're no, I was talking about you. Andy, you're pretty cool too. You're pretty cool too.
So if there's anyone out there that really, people have reached out to me and I've been like, yo, talk to Ming, hit up the Facebook page, and if you want to start a podcast, he could make all your dreams come true. And also they got some merch down here. I'm about to grab a hoodie. And just like the Shared Universe Podcast Studio page, and I just can't say enough wonderful things about all of this that's going on. Again, thank you, Adam. Thank you, Ming.
Thank you, Ming.
Everyone,
thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, and everyone have a wonderful week, everybody. And I'll be back live in action soon.